Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Digging Deeper moment number 164. The mission of our Digging Deeper moments is to take God's Word to God's world, and we are so glad that you've joined us. And we hope that before watching this lesson, you'll first subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will help us to spread messages like this one to others. Tonight, we begin a new series of messages called 10 Ways That Genesis Chapter 1 is Interpreted. Pretty long title, but we really couldn't think of anything shorter. There may be more than 10 ways that Genesis 1 is interpreted, but these are the most common and most familiar. In this series, we'll give a basic understanding of each view and illustrate how each of the 10 build upon a set of assumptions which are then read into the text. Something we called mud on our feet a couple of Digging Deeper series ago. We're going to actually look at the mud that's on our feet when we begin to interpret the book of Genesis, particularly Genesis chapter 1. Let's start by identifying the 10 different ways that Genesis is interpreted and the 7 assumptions that they draw from. Now on the screen here is a list, so I'm going to go over them pretty quickly. There's the day-age theory, the theistic evolution theory, the framework theory, the title theory, the dependent clause theory, the gap theory, the function theory, the progressive creation theory, the literal day theory, and the appearance of age theory. Now, we covered the 7 assumptions that these 10 draw from in very much detail in Digging Deeper moments number 147 to 151, and you can turn to our website and find them at www.eaglesnest.ch. Tonight, however, what I want to do is just restate those 7, but do so in question form, because these 7 assumptions will appear in every one of these 10 ways that Genesis is interpreted. The first is there a God or isn't there? Naturalism versus theism. Is the universe young or old? The age of the universe question. What type of literature is used in Genesis 1? Is it poetry or prose? Number 4, was creation incremental or sudden? That's uniformitarianism or supernaturalism. Is the universe, number 5, is the universe the product of an accident or is it design? That's evolution versus design or creation. Number 6, how do we get information? Through observation or through revelation, or observation and revelation together? It's number 6. And number 7, does objective truth exist or is truth relative? This is postmodernism versus modernism. Now, all 10 ways of interpreting Genesis chapter 1, as well as any other interpretation of Genesis 1 and any other interpretations of the Bible, will have to answer these 7 questions, and they will build on the answers that they give, and they become their foundation of what's called presuppositions or assumptions. So when we begin to read the Bible, if we're not careful, we can read these assumptions into the text. And all I'm trying to do in this series is help us to see and make us aware of that in our own interpretation of the Bible as well as that of others. So as we look at these 10 theories, we're going to identify these assumptions, but out of the gate, we can't help but noticing something that's really, really apparent right from the start. 8 out of 10 of these assume an old Earth or an old universe, around 13.8 billion years or so. And while only 2 of these assume a young universe, that would be thousands of years old. What I've gathered from in my studies, the age of the universe is one of the most divisive, if not the most divisive issue in the debate over origins. And so when we discuss the origins of the universe, when we talk about creation, we are entering what the book Crucial Conversations calls a crucial conversation. A crucial conversation is one which contains different opinions, high stakes, and high emotions. And this certainly describes the debate over origins and specifically the age of the universe. Now, according to the book's authors, one of the most important things to do in a crucial conversation is maintain an atmosphere of safety, which they define as an environment in which people feel valued and heard. This is no small task in our polarized world. But this will be one of our main goals because we want to have a dialogue. We want to create an atmosphere that values those that hold different opinions by hearing what those opinions are. Now, at the end of this series, I will offer my interpretation and the reasons I hold the view that I do, but I'm only going to do this after we've heard from all 10 because the listening is the way we communicate values to others and restore safety in a crucial conversation. Now, before we proceed any further, a few more comments need to be made. First, any theory built upon an assumed age of the universe, either young or old, is severely damaged or destroyed if that assumption or those assumptions are incorrect. And so the assumptions of any theory are its foundation, and if the foundation is wrong, the house built upon it will crumble. Secondly, the belief that the age of the earth is 13.8 billion years old is a foregone conclusion for most people living in Western culture today. That would be America and Europe. Therefore, the arguments of young earth theologians and scientists are not taken seriously by the culture at large. And this is unfortunate because it devalues those holding those views. It shuts down healthy dialogue, and it's inconsistent with the scientific method, which is all about theorizing and testing and considering the observations of the scientists making them and of the observations of others. The third thing that needs to be said before we get into our study is that the great challenge for those who assume an old earth is to take those who disagree seriously. And that's what I want to encourage everyone to do. If you hold an old earth view, please take the other view seriously, at least listen to them. Let them into the conversation. And let's not fall into disrespect or disparage them or anybody else that disagrees with us, because the age of the earth, it's one of those things that hasn't been scientifically tested in the sense that we can't prove it. Science can't prove anything, and all we can do is provide evidence that supports a theory. And so the age of the universe really remains an assumption either way. And the real question will be then is which theories have the best evidence, not proof. Finally, the great challenge for those holding a young earth is not to Bible thump. The Bible says will not help their cause in a post-Christian culture. And so while the Bible has much evidence that supports its claims, most people are unaware of it. Therefore, if young earth creationists want a seat at the table, they will have to understand and address the reality that the lump that the anaconda can't swallow in today's culture is a young universe. And they'll have to defend their position with more than Scripture alone. Now, next week, we're going to begin our study by looking at the day-age theory. If this lesson has helped you, please share it with a friend, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or check out our Sunday morning live podcast on either Apple or Spotify. If you'd like to partner with us as we take God's Word to God's world, you can do so by clicking the How to Give tab, and I hope to see you next week. God bless.